Welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to an installment of Sideline Sports Podcast. I am Alex Naveja, and if you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. I know this episode has been long overdue, UCLA football, and I know I've been MIA on YouTube and putting episodes out there, but hopefully you guys have been catching the content we've been throwing out there on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and on Facebook. I see you guys are really liking it, interviewing some high school football players. Got to interview a wide receiver from Liberty in Henderson, Nevada, and also got to interview the sophomore quarterback, Jacob Chambers from Rancho Cucamonga, and they just came off of the win last week against Norco. So hopefully you guys are liking that content. If you guys are liking it, follow us on the social media handles down below, and also hit the subscribe button down below while you guys are at it. We're trying to throw out content for you guys on a weekly basis. But nonetheless, we've got a new face jumping on the podcast, and you know what? He is a super busy guy, but with all the great reasons. You guys probably recognize the face. You guys will recognize the voice with being a part of Long Beach State volleyball, being a part of big volleyball and tennis broadcast. He goes by the name of Bryan Fenley. He is the post-game host on UCLA Bruin Talks on AM 570. What's going on, my man? It's been a long time no see since the Damien Classic.
It has been a while. I love your energy. I love what you're doing. I love the content creation. I'm excited to get after it. Let's talk some UCLA football, man, after the big win last week.
Yeah, you know what? It kind of caught me off guard. I thought UCLA was going to play last week along with everybody else, but they got a bit of a late jump. But you know what? Be defeating Coastal Carolina with a pair of two quarterbacks, which Chip Kelly's still trying to decide on who's going to be the starter. Let me get your input. Let's see your takes on how the Bruins did in the first week.
Yeah, I think basically what I envisioned the team would look like is what I saw on the field. We knew some of the, I don't want to say liabilities, but areas to improve are going to be in regards to the secondary, in regards to the offensive line, in regards to the quarterback question, because as you mentioned, Chip Kelly was running three guys out there. He ended up only using two. Part of that he blamed on the new clock rules, where when you pick up a first down now, they don't stop the clock in college football. So the guys, UCLA only ran 60 offensive plays. Coastal Carolina ran 77. So essentially that was part of the reason as to why UCLA only went with two different quarterbacks. Ethan Garber started. First drive had the nice touchdown, and it took about 2 minutes to do so. So they go up early. Then he throws the pick. One of them was on him. The second one was due to some pass protection breakdown, offensive line, allowing the penetration from Coastal Carolina's D-line. 3 drives and 7 points to show for Ethan Garbers. Then they bring out Dante Moore. And Alex, Dante Moore is the real deal. This guy is the highest recruit to ever come to UCLA under Chip Kelly. And first drive, sizzles, gets the touchdown, 3 completions, 4 attempts, and he's got a touchdown right out of the gates. Only plays 1 drive in the first half. Garbers then gets a couple of drives to start in the second half, and then Dante Moore comes back in and does exactly what we saw from him in the first half. Another touchdown drive, this one 62 yards to J. Mike Sturdivant, the Cal transfer, who runs, according to his teammates, a 10-3 100-meter dash, which isn't as fast as you, Alex. I know you run a 9.8 100-meter dash. But to me, Alex, it really did seem that a lot of progress was made in terms of defining and identifying the starting quarterback moving forward, and that being Dante Moore. Now, in listening to Chip Kelly talk this week leading into game 2 against San Diego State, it still seems to be that he is open with playing all 3. He was asked today when he was going to make that decision as to be more definitive on a permanent starter. He said as soon as he locates the guy that is going to win them ball games and move the offense, then he's going to have the starter. And I'll leave you with this, Alex, because I love Ethan Garbers. I love his family, and I love what he stands for. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not sure if we win that game, or at least it's going to be a lot more drama filled at the end if Garbers plays the whole game. Dante Moore did some things athletically, scrambling on the move, finding receivers in tight windows that, to me, has everybody giddy about him potentially being QB1. And the way he comports himself out there, he's only 18 years old. Look, Alex, when I was 18, I was probably still playing Legos. But when he's 18, he's running an offense. He's so calm. He's like, the experience that he doesn't have, it seems as if he has by the calmness and the coolness with which he runs the offense. You're not worried about him out there. And clearly, with his 2-touchdown performance, there's a lot of optimism in what he can do as QB1. Although that hasn't been made official, to me, it's pretty definitive that he is the guy.
Hey, man, you can't be dissing out on the Legos. Legos, like, there's still grown men playing with Legos right now. Don't you see those Lego sets of cars, of Star Wars, and everything right about now? So, hey, don't be dissing on them Legos. Don't sleep on them. I had a set, too, all throughout my growing up phase. But you know what? I think UCLA's got a good problem on their hands right now. They've got 3 quarterbacks, and I don't think one game is enough to really determine on who's going to be that everyday starter once it comes down to conference play. I think it's a very small sample size, and I think they still need some more games. They need some more snaps. I mean, everyone is saying, oh, Dante Moore. Yes, but I still want to see Ethan Garbers get some more snaps. Like we need to see some more reps and more experience from these guys. It's just one game, like I said, not enough. You have pre-conference to be able to dictate that. And even then, if you're going into conference play, that's fine to maybe rotate the quarterbacks, because maybe Chip Kelly wants to use maybe Dante Moore for one type of situation. And once it comes to like another situation, maybe you go to Ethan Garbers, maybe.
Yeah, and you could also see Colin Schlee in there. That's the guy that was supposed to go in as well. And Chip said that the reason they didn't get him in the game, Colin Schlee, the transfer from Kent State, was partly due to the time clock rules, as in to say the guys didn't get as many plays offensively. And they were running a lot of up-tempo against Coastal Carolina too, but even that didn't allow the game to express itself in a way that Colin Schlee got in there, which is somebody that Chip has said, Chip Kelly, he wants to use him situationally. What does that mean? Well, Chip Kelly was probed about, what do you mean situationally in using Colin Schlee, for example? And he's like, I'm not going to give you that answer. And I get that, right? You don't want to give away what you're going to do as far as packages you're going to use different quarterbacks, because everything that you put out there in social media is going to be digested by scouts of the other team, analysts, the coaches. They watch all of this as if to say they want to get a slight competitive advantage in case there's something that is revealed in any of these interviews that could help them win a game. But I think ideally, and you alluded to this, Alex, I think if we have a definitive starting quarterback, a permanent starter by conference play, so you get 3 games here, you got San Diego State on the road, and then you've got NC Central at home. By those 3 games, I think is the deadline for when you need to have the starting quarterback moving forward. Because even Ethan Garber said this after the game against Coastal Carolina, that, yeah, he got plenty of sequences to get out there and drives. But there's something to be said, Alex, when you know you're not the permanent starter and you're afraid that if you make one mistake that you're going to get pulled, that maybe mentally that affects your decision-making out there. When you don't feel like you have the metaphoric long leash, so as to say, hey, I might make a mistake and I'm going to get taken out. So it takes away from the rhythm of a quarterback getting settled in, but it's a good problem to have when you have multiple proven quarterbacks that can get the job done. But yeah, conference play, that is when I think at the very latest, or you have to make a decision by then. I think you can't let this linger into conference play,
because you don't want to have these type of problems in conference play. And I mean, we're looking at this conference play schedule, and gotta say, UCLA's got a tough schedule, to say the least. They have a very tough conference schedule. I mean, to open up with Utah, then 2 games later to play at Oregon State, and to have Colorado, we just saw Colorado beat TCU. So, I mean, that's, again, another small sample size of what to expect there as well. And then, I just feel like it's not like USC's conference schedule where maybe the first half is they've got a lighter schedule. And once it comes to the second half of the Pac-12 schedule, it gets a little tougher for them. But I feel like UCLA conference all throughout the schedule, it's just filled with tough competition. So I think by then is a good time to be able to figure out the quarterback situation.
Yeah, although I will add this, the one good thing with UCLA's schedule when it comes to who they're going to play in conference, they did luck out because they don't have to play Oregon or Washington.
Yeah.
Now, as you have seen, the Pac-12 is stacked. This might be in what is a conference that will be no longer after this year. But this might be, and what a final hurrah for this conference now that it's 12 teams just for this season. But this might be the best year as far as most teams playing high caliber football that we've ever seen in the lifespan of the Pac-12. What a way to sort of send yourself off into these teams going into different conferences next year than to have so many great teams inside the top 25 when it was just a couple of years ago where you'd be hard pressed to find any one of these teams in the top 25, let alone two. Now, many are in there. Oregon State, these teams that we look at as potential second-tier Pac-12 schools are inside the top 25, and it's really exciting to see. And as much as you're excited about where UCLA is going in the Big Ten and all the opportunities that are going to present itself there, you do get some nostalgia, Alex, in saying to yourself, wow, you wonder if the conference was playing this well, the Pac-12, with all of these teams at this level years ago, maybe the Pac-12 would still be alive and well moving forward. Again, that's something that we'll never know, but it's definitely a place where my mind goes and likes to think about.
Absolutely. You're bringing up a pretty valid point, and it's just kind of unfortunate that now this is the final year of a full Pac-12 conference. And like you said, there's just a ton of talent. You've got Washington, Oregon, Oregon State. I think Colorado can maybe be in that mix. Utah, USC, UCLA. A lot of them are really in there. Arizona too. A lot of them are in there. And they are going to have the spotlight. And it's just kind of one of those, well, man, that sucks. It's the last year with this big conference with so many powerhouses in them. So it's just unfortunate to see it go down the way that it is. But while we're in this topic of UCLA and just what to expect this year, what are your expectations going into this year? I mean, like the Bruins are going to have their hands full with their next door neighbor, the rivals with USC. Utah's always a tough opponent as well in the Pac-12 South. What are you thinking this year?
I think it's in the realm of possibility to get 10 wins. If
Okay.
they can, you would assume, and again, you respect all the quarterbacks that are vying for that QB1 position. But let's just say things continue to trend the way they are, and the quarterback role, QB1, goes to Dante Moore. He has the kind of sizzle and the flair that can get this team to 10 wins in the regular season. So, yeah, when you talk about USC, they look unstoppable. Now, they haven't really played anybody, no offense to their opponents so far this year. And the other thing is that game, UCLA is at USC. So that makes things a little bit more challenging when having to go up against them. Utah as well. But then you think to yourself, I don't know where UCLA could lose another game. Colorado is really good, right? We know that. But is what they did last week against TCU in winning against a former NCAA championship runner-up team that was last week ranked the Horned Frogs 17th in the nation, is that sort of buzz and appeal and national attention from Colorado, is that going to be able to be sustained? That's what I don't know yet, because when you've got such a new nucleus of players, you ride the high of that one game, but it's a question that I don't have an answer for is, can Colorado play that way all season? And I'm not totally sure they can. With that said, UCLA can win that game against Colorado. So you look at the two, as you were saying, the two hardest opponents, arguably in UCLA's schedule, USC and Utah. You get 10 wins if you lose to those two and that's it. Maybe you win one of those two. That would be something special. But whatever it is, I think 10 wins is a valid conclusion that you can take from this team, even though they've only played one game.
I think it's possible. I mean, Colorado, as we said, just another small sample size, one win. It doesn't say, oh, whoa, rank them already to be top 25 or anything. Yeah, they beat TCU, but I don't think that's enough. I think UCLA has a shot to be able to beat Colorado, beat everybody except for, as you mentioned, Utah. It's always hard to play there at Utah, and playing at the Coliseum. Those games could go either way. But I'll tell you one thing. If UCLA could start off strong, 1-0, beating Utah at Utah, be careful. Be careful, Pac-12 South, because, man, UCLA, they are going to be a serious threat and maybe even be playing in Las Vegas. I'm already getting ahead of myself and going to Allegiant and playing there for who knows, maybe Oregon or Washington. But if they can win Utah, it's going to be a huge confidence booster moving through the scheduling.
The one issue I think that is going to stand in UCLA's way, beyond what we've talked about, is how well UCLA secondary is going to be playing. Now, they caught some flack early in the game against Coastal Carolina, giving up some deep balls. Grayson McCall, the quarterback for Coastal Carolina, really a proven guy, one of the best in the NCAA as far as his numbers going into his fourth year, and was a three-time Sun Belt Player of the Year, the conference, of course, where Coastal Carolina lives. But if people look at the growing pains, if you will, of the secondary, you could say that, yeah, there's a lot of room for improvement there, but that secondary had 2 picks in the second half against Coastal Carolina. You had 2 picks, one from Jalen Davies, John Humphrey as well. So this corner, especially the cornerback unit, and they have a new coach, Cody Whitfield, at the cornerback position. Obviously, they have a new defensive coordinator, D'Anton Lynn. He's only 33 years old. He's the son of former Charger head coach Anthony Lynn. But there are some nice elements to their performances in the cornerback room from Coastal Carolina that I think people are not spending a whole lot of time looking at. They're looking at where they need to get better and some of the mistakes, but it really wasn't as bad of an effort as some of these fans are portraying UCLA's DBs in how they efforted themselves in the game against Coastal Carolina. So if it's just fine-tuning that, the front seven is ferocious. Kane Madrano, the linebacker for UCLA after the win against Coastal Carolina, said, and again, he might be biased, and maybe I'm biased because I love UCLA, but he said that the front four, the D-line, is the best in the nation. And it almost seemed like every single time that Grayson McCall was dropping back to pass, he was hurried, he was hit. Now, they could have sacked him more times. They only sacked him 4 times. But the penetration that this D-line is getting in going through the offensive line, and I guess, yeah, it is just one sample size, and it's against a Sun Belt opponent in their offensive line, but there's a lot of excitement there. It's just the secondary, to me, that is the biggest thing that I'm going to be keeping an eye on.
And I think you're bringing up a good point. If they can address the secondary and just tweak it good enough for you got 2 games to be able to figure that out, to play against Utah. And if you could figure that out, you got yourself a heck of a game right there. I think you can definitely beat Utah. You could beat the Utes in that first game. I mean, you have everything else figured out offensively. They look fundamentally sound offensively. The running game was there. The passing game was certainly there. The defense, they were putting a lot of pressure on McCall in that first game. I think if they could just continue to move up from here, then within the next 2 weeks, the next 2 games, well, in conference play, I say they can definitely be getting their money's worth at Utah. And like I said, you win the first one, and you get your momentum moving forward. You get your momentum, and you could definitely be in the run to keep up with the USC making it to Vegas. But I want to get final thoughts on what your maybe overall record and conference record is going to be for UCLA.
Overall record, I think that they can win 10 games. And I think that is not just me being a homer. That's not me working for the school and doing stuff gratefully for the institution when it comes to covering their football team. I do think that if you get 10 wins, so you're 10-2, which means that, and I think that might be the low bar. Like, I think that if you can get one, I mean, it's going to be hard to get two. And again, having a perfect season, yeah, that's a challenge for anybody, no matter how good your football team is. But if you can get one of two between Utah and USC, that would be an added bonus. But I'm going to go baseline here, Alex. I'm going to go 10-2, which then means you got 9 conference games in the Pac-12 and you lose 2 of them. So I think, and again, I might be underestimating Oregon State on the road. Like, that's a really good team too. So at the very minimum, maybe 9-3. I'm projecting 10-2. So that would include just 2 or 3 losses in the Pac-12 out of the 9 games. Right around there, 9-10, I think is fair game for this team.
I would certainly lean more towards the 9-3, just because a lot of these road games are against tough ranked opponents, and it's just going to ultimately come down to, hey, are you still going to perform just as well as you do here at the Rose Bowl? And I think that's just the big question marks. And majority of these road games in the conference schedule are against top 25 opponents. So it's an exciting year for sure for UCLA football. And I'll tell you what, I'll definitely catch you at a game one of these days, because truth be told, I've never been to the Rose Bowl. I've been across the street to Jackie Robinson Field to do some summer ball across the street, but I've never been inside of the Rose Bowl. The goal is to get in there and bring the Sideline Sports Podcasters some content on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram, and definitely want to get some coverage for UCLA football. So how about that? I'll catch you at a game sometime this year. How about that?
You let me know. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely. And you know what, folks? We'll go ahead and find Bryan Fenley at a game there at the Rose Bowl, and we'll have him jump on TikTok, jump on Twitter with us, and talk a little bit about maybe the pregame, his predictions and such, and get a hot take on that. And this is going on record, folks. Bryan heard it right here, and he is a witness, and so are you guys. We'll definitely make it happen this season. But that's all the time we have left here on Sideline Sports Podcast. We thank y'all so much for tuning into this one. If you guys like this episode, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below what your predictions are as far as how far the Bruins will go this year. Can they go all the way as far as going to Vegas and playing against the Pac-12 North champions? Can they be the overall conference champions this year? Or are we just blowing our minds and just going crazy as far as already getting ahead of ourselves here? And is there an age limit to playing Legos, folks? I would really like to hear about that as well. There is none.
There's no.
Absolutely. There's none. There absolutely is none. I still have some Lego sets of my own.
Oh, so. I know you do.
Absolutely. Come on. It's Legos. Who's going to hate on the Legos, man?
Alex, thank you for having me. Thanks so much for allowing me to be a part of this. Love what you're doing. Love your passion. Think you got something really cool going on. And as soon as you get out there, let me know. Rose Bowl, we'll make it happen. We'll get some content out there and we'll have some fun.
There you have it, folks. That was Bryan Fenley, the UCLA Bruin post-game host on AM 570. You guys can catch him all around there. You guys can also catch him on Fox Sports Radio. You guys can catch him on Big West, in volleyball and golf, hoops, tennis, whatever you guys want to see it. Bryan Fenley is all over the place. You guys will familiarize yourself with the voice. But I'm Alex Naveja from Sideline Sports Podcast. If you're not on the sideline, it's not Sideline Sports Podcast. Hasta luego, everybody, and enjoy the college football and the NFL season this week.